Welcome to the Punch Out. I'm your host, Alex McNinch, and welcome back to another episode this week. At the end of the week, full week of baseball to recap, full week of baseball to talk about. Some good games this week, some good series, a lot of good moments to talk about, and a good weekend as well of baseball. Some really good series to preview as well. There's no real extra news to talk about. Unlike last episode with the Vladimir Guerrero extension, there has not been any fireworks to start off this week, except for why I was up until at least midnight last night watching baseball. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. So let's just go ahead and hop right into kind of what happened this week. Make sure you follow me on all my social medias at the Punch Out Pod on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. TikTok's moving. YouTube, if you don't have TikTok and you want to watch the shorts still, go to YouTube Shorts. They're popping as well a little bit sometimes. So go ahead and go check all that out. Make sure you tell a friend if you know that they love baseball, you want to listen. Go ahead and share it with all the people you know. But this week of baseball had a lot of good series. We'll just go with the first one that has got played every single day during the day. So I got lucky enough to watch it before I had to leave every single day. The Detroit Tigers and the New York Yankees. And the Tigers, the pitching staff looks much better this week in their series against the Yankees. A combined 17 and a third innings pitched, 1 earned run, and 21 strikeouts for Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal, and Jack Flaherty this week against the Yankees. And let's just face it, they were a comeback away from sweeping the New York Yankees in the series. In fact, they did come back, unfortunately just falling short at the end of the week. But, you know, this Tigers team started off really, really slow, obviously. When you have to play the defending world champion in the Los Angeles Dodgers for your first series, that's a tough one. That is a very, very tough one to have to start out with. And then it seemed like they were slow moving out of the gates, and then luckily, here against the Yankees, they've rebounded and been able to play really well this week. And not only has it been the pitching, but you've been looking for the bats, and the bottom of the order has been pretty good as well. And a big revelation for the Tigers was Spencer Torkelson. And this is a guy who's the number one overall pick a few years ago, probably 4 years ago now. But in this offseason, or I guess in the previous years, he just has never really lived up to the hype and has never really gotten over that hump as a hitter in the big leagues. And they ended up converting Colt Keith over to first base and in hopes that he could take over that job and open up some more spots in the infield. And Torkelson would be the platoon guy with him, or they were going to start him in AAA. And with some injuries, Torkelson slides in and is the everyday first baseman, and he has really grabbed that opportunity and run with it. So far this year, he's in .310. With a 408 on base and a 1051 OPS, 3 home runs and 7 RBIs. And if you're going to hit like that for this team, then go ahead. When Riley Green's not doing too hot to start the year, it's a pick-me-up situation. And then you got some other guys on the IL you're waiting to get back as well. And for Torkelson to be that middle-of-the-order bat, maybe the 5 hole even, that they hoped that he would be coming out of Arizona State, then this is a huge revelation for the Detroit Tigers, who take a nice series against the Yankees over the week, having to play every single game in the day because of the rain that was expected in the Detroit area. So big on the Tigers this week. Another series that we highlighted last week on Monday when we talked about the series to look out for this week. The Cubs and the Rangers. The Cubs take 2 or 3 from the Rangers this week. Justin Steele in game 1 was awesome. 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts. Another guy who had a really slow start to the year, facing off against the Dodgers in Japan, and then having to pitch against the Diamondbacks, who were super hot as well. Seems like Justin Steele's starting to find his way again, and he's an interesting pitcher because you look at his stuff and you think, oh, low velocity, a lot of movement on all of his pitches. He's a ground ball guy, lefty, soft thrower, but then, you look at the strikeout numbers and you look at the whiff rate on a lot of his pitches, and you're like, oh, this guy could be a high strikeout guy. So, Justin Steele's trying to figure out how to do that. It seems like this year with some new pitches or some new percentage of usage in some of his pitches. So Great game one for him. Seiya Suzuki this series went nuclear as he has done for a lot of the series so far this year. 7 for 11 with 4 RBIs. Again, a guy that they signed so many years ago out of Japan. Really was hoping for him to be the middle of the order bat that they loved. Have him in right field. Obviously, the defense wasn't there. They moved him to DH, and now he's their full-time DH with Kyle Tucker playing in right field. And he's been an awesome right-handed bat for this team at the 2-hole or the 3-hole, wherever they end up putting him. He's been awesome for this team, and this year especially, he's really starting to come into his own after a few years of adjusting to the MLB life. But as much as we can praise the Cubs, we gotta talk about the Rangers a little bit, who are still playing good ball, but unfortunately, their top 2 guys, their 2 highest paid guys in the lineup, aren't doing so hot. Have a combined 2 home runs and 6 RBIs, and both guys are hitting under 200 to start the year. And Corey Seager's been dealing with, I believe it's a calf injury since the beginning or since the end of spring training. Marcus Semien was off to a slow start last year and finished pretty poorly as well. So, maybe that has something to do with it. And for Seager, maybe the injury has something to do with it as well. Inconsistency of health, but that's also been the story of his career, is inconsistency with health. So hopefully they can kind of figure it out and turn it around, because now Wyatt Langford is going to be on the shelf for a little bit, so that's another bat in the middle of the order that you're going to lose. Jock Peterson hasn't really performed what you wanted. Adolis Garcia is never going to be your high average guy ever again. He's going to be I'm going to strike out every single time, or I'm going to hit a home run every single time. It's just what it's going to be. So some of those other guys at the bottom of the order are going to have to be more pick-me-up guys, but hopefully Semien and Seager can kind of turn it on pretty soon, because they're going to need them for sure in this stretch of the season where they're trying to figure out the identity of the team. Yeah. Other series that we highlighted last episode to watch out for were the Mariners and the Astros. Every game in this series was decided by 1 run, or I would say less, but 1 run, basically, and it was an amazing series. And again, this is a series where both of these teams are trying to fight for this AL West spot, because right now, with the Rangers being who they are, the Angels are playing way better than anyone could have ever expected them to be. It's more so of like, hey, let's get off on this right foot for eventually when the Angels start to kind of come back down to earth, we can kind of slide up. We'll be their next team right there, and we slide up into that next spot. But the Mariners and the Astros were both at the same record at the start of the series, trying to see which team could kind of get out on the other side of the hill from this series, and the Mariners do so. It wasn't pretty whatsoever. You look at both teams, and it's like, ugh. The hitting for the Mariners has been pathetic, to say the least. Only one guy's hitting over like 250, 270, and it's Jorge Polanco, and he's hitting 417 with 2 home runs and 10 RBIs. He's been awesome for them. But outside of that, Julio Rodriguez is not hitting well. Kyle Raleigh's just barely hitting 200. It's rough. Luckily, their pitching staff can kind of get them by in their bullpen as well. But Bryce Miller is a guy who they really were hoping would be the guy to fill in the number 2 while George Kirby was out, and he stunk it up this year. He's on my fantasy baseball team, so trust me, he stinks this year right now. But and Logan Gilbert's giving up more runs than they expected, so this Mariners lineup is just going to have to get it going, and we'll talk about them a little bit more and who they're going to be playing this weekend and how big of a series this is for them now, even bigger than the one they just played. So at this point in the season already, so the Mariners take the series against the Astros. The Astros we talked about them in the AL West preview. A lot of people were like, you know what? They added, they might have gotten some stuff back from that Kyle Tucker trade. Oh, they added, a couple pieces here. Oh, their guys are supposed to get better. And you just look at it and you start to think about, well, you don't have Bregman. You don't have Tucker. You have Altuve playing left field. Jordan is your only consistent hitter outside of Altuve. And you start to look around the pieces like, well, Christian Walker had an anomaly year. So how much can he sustain that? Sure, his defense is great. Isaac Paredes, are you investing too much into the fact that he can hit in Houston and forget the fact he has to hit in all these other ballparks too? And has to play defense as well. So, and the pitching rotation, they're just not healthy enough yet. So the Astros are going to have a slow start. They might have a month or two like they did last year where they surge and they start to play incredible baseball. But the unfortunate part is you're not going to have those guys like Bregman and Tucker to rely on. And that's just the fact of the matter. And hopefully when their pitching gets back, they can be a little bit better. But I don't know. Right now, I don't want to say it's panic time for the Astros because we're 3-4 weeks into the season, but it's still not a good start for them at all. A team that is having a really good start to the year are the San Francisco Giants. We really haven't talked about them too much, and I feel bad that we haven't, but I'm still on, and that's why I haven't talked about the Angels, because I'm still on the fence of I need more from them to be able to decide, like, is this really what we're getting from these guys? Or is this just kind of a beginning of the season, we're starting off on a better foot than everybody else is, and then once everybody else catches up, we're going to go back down to reality. I think that's going to be the case for the Angels, at least for the Giants' sake. They've got a little bit more going with them in their lineup and their pitching rotation that can kind of keep them afloat for a good while compared to what the Angels have going on as a whole. But the Cincinnati Reds, who have kind of been up and down here to start the year, come in to San Francisco. Was it in San Francisco? For some reason, I don't think it was in San Francisco. I'm going to have to recheck that. It was in San Francisco. That's what I thought. I watched a game. Of course it was in San Francisco. And they take the series against the Giants. Hunter Greene in Game 1 was unbelievable. 8 2/3 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts. He has been unbelievable this year. Hitters are hitting 0 against his slider. He has thrown it 80 times this year. Not a single person has gotten a hit off of it. He's coming back this year emphasizing that slider as his strike one pitch, as his get me over pitch, and his strikeout pitch as well. It's been unbelievable, and he is really transforming into that ace top pitcher in baseball level of player that we all kind of looked at and saw from him a few years ago when he started to crack the majors. And it's great to see him come around now. The Reds are not coming around as an offense too much just yet, even with Elly De La Cruz in the lineup. Just winning a couple of these games by 1 or 2 runs total. So it didn't take to the last game for some fireworks to happen and Mike Yastrzemski to hit a walk-off home run for the Giants. But the Reds take an impressive series win on the road in a ballpark that is not too favorable for the hitters. They rely on their pitching with Green and Lodolo. Even Martinez in the series finale struck out like 8 or 9, despite giving up a couple runs as well. So that's a great series win for them. They get to come back home and take on the Pirates in a divisional matchup back at home where they could probably let the bats fly a little bit more and hopefully gain some more confidence. But I like the Cincinnati team if they can get hot. We talked about them in my preview as well. I was a big fan of them, so maybe they'll get hot. I really hope that they do because they've got some pieces there that are fun and exciting to watch. The other series we talked about, Padres and the Athletics, and the only reason we're going to see the Athletics put into a lot of these series previews because I am a believer in this ballpark being a complete game changer. Yeah, those are the word I'm looking for. The game changer for the entire major leagues, and the AL West is going to feast off of this ballpark, and the A's play there enough to where hopefully it's their home ballpark. They can use it to their advantage, kind of like how the Red Sox use their home field to their advantage. So the Padres come in and they steamroll them, basically. But it wasn't as easy as they thought, honestly. The one game that we highlighted between the pitching matchup, I should have highlighted King and Severino for Game 1 because it ended up being a better pitching matchup than Cease and Springs ended up being. It was just run after run after run after run after run. It ended up being like 14 runs in that game. And then the Padres in the final game of the series, where a lot of people were concerned about Tatis getting hurt on a swing, they come in and take care of business, win a gritty 2-1 ball game in the middle of the day in Sacramento. the Padres bullpen is the best in the major leagues right now. Has the lowest ERA in baseball amongst bullpens in 1.65. We'll talk about a piece of that bullpen later at the very back end, but talk about guys like Jason Adam, who they got last year from the Rays. He's been awesome. Morejon is supposed to be a mop-up guy. He's been awesome. Was a former starting pitching prospect. He's really good this year. Wandy Peralta's been really solid. They've got guys. They have guy after guy after guy that can come in to this from the bullpen and make an impact and basically shut down Yuki Matsui, who they signed from Japan last year. Was kind of whatever, and has now just been lights out pretty much this entire season so far. And this is exactly what the Padres were looking for when it came to all this. So, really happy that their bullpen amongst all those guys are starting to really hit. And there's still some guys that haven't even come back yet from injury. So, keep an eye on that Padres bullpen because I don't think that it's going to stop anytime soon. A couple other things to note here. The reason I was up until 12 a.m. last night watching baseball is because the Phillies and the Braves decided, hey, we're going to take a 17-hour rain delay, basically, and then we're going to come back and keep playing baseball and not score runs for a few more hours, if you don't mind. But this was a massive, massive series for the Atlanta Braves. A bounce-back win in Game 1 from that losing a game in the Marlins series and having a postponement and having a few days off in between. Maybe that rejuvenated the team. And in a game where Zach Wheeler and Chris Sale were pitching, it ended up being the most runs in the entire series within the game. So that's crazy how that kind of stuff works. But they end up winning the game with Sale on the mound. He has not looked too good this year, so keep an eye on that. We kind of noticed it as Red Sox fans, unfortunately. It was coming eventually, but I love Chris Sale. Hopefully he can get back on track. But they get that big win in the first game, and then in Game 2, Trey Turner is the deciding factor late in the game to get them the win. And then last night, it ends up being a Kyle Schwarber home run in the first, and was it Austin Riley maybe in the third that got the other run in, and there was no runs scored for the next 5 hours because there was a multiple hour rain delay, come back from rain delay, and then nobody wants to score. Eventually, it ends up being Austin Riley hitting a double, trading places with all of these in the extras, and then Marcell Ozuna, I believe it was a front door cutter or a front door slider, just cranked it into the left field seats. Let's go home. And the Braves win their first series of the season against the Phillies, of all teams who you would not expect that to happen. But there we go. This is the momentum you're wanting if you're the Atlanta Braves, to get a little bit more juice into you. Now going into a series against a Rays team that is not very, very good. So this is a good chance for them to get some more wins under their belt. Unfortunately, they're leaving pretty late and having to go into Eastern time zone. So that time change might hurt a little. Oh, no, I guess Atlanta's in Eastern time zone. I'm sorry. But they're still having to fly in the middle of the night over to Tampa or wherever Steinbrenner Field is now to be able to play these games. And it's a quick turnaround for them, but the momentum is what they need to have going into that type of environment and type of games. And then the last thing I just wrote Sox suck. Could be the White Sox, could be the Red Sox. That's about all I got for you with that. No, the Red Sox have been playing really bad. They just lost a series to the Blue Jays, which is not good. The Blue Jays are not supposed to be good this year at all. They want to make excuses that they can't hit in the cold. Well, too bad. You play in Boston. You expect what it's going to be like in October. So, yeah, that stinks. But, oh well, big series against the White Sox this weekend. The Battle of the Sox coming up. So, but enough about the Red Sox. I know when they suck, nobody wants to hear about them anyways. So, that's all the news and notes from the games this week. Let's look ahead to the weekend. Here's some series to pay attention for. The Giants and the Yankees. Talked about that Giants team just a little bit. Super excited to see what the team looks like this weekend against the Yankees, going into a ballpark where there's going to be a lot of fireworks, I assume, at Yankee Stadium. We all know what that field is like. We all know what that ballpark is capable of. And there's going to be a good pitching matchup here this weekend as well. But let's see if the Giants are real. The Yankees are a good test, despite not being too great, but it's their pitching. But let's see if the Giants are up to the test and can hold their ground on this early start to the season where they've been really, really good. Next series, talk about AL West. We're going to keep an eye on the AL West all year because I think it's going to be a dog fight between all these teams. The Rangers and the Mariners take on each other this weekend. The Rangers are needing a bounce back after the Cubs. Mariners are staying hot after the Astros series win. Let's kind of see which one of these two teams can battle it out and which bats can get on track sooner because both teams really need that to be the case. And then the big matchup this weekend that we all need to watch for on Sunday Night Baseball as well, the Dodgers and the Cubs. Obviously, two of the best teams in the National League to start the year so far. Got to watch out for both of them. Pitching matchups to look for. Matthew Boyd versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto tonight, Friday night, as I'm recording. They will be the only pitching matchup tonight that is really worth watching. Nothing on Saturday that really jumps out to me unless they make a change here in between the times of me recording and the game actually happening on who pitches. Then nothing really exciting on Saturday, but Sunday, full of great pitching matchups. Logan Webb versus Carlos Rodon. Rodon pitching against his former team in the Giants, but when Logan Webb's on the mound, he's always a notable watch. Chris Sale versus Shane Baz. Let's see if Shane Baz can keep that hot start to the year. Chris Sale needing a bounce back against the lineup that he is very familiar with. Or not, I guess the lineup isn't familiar with too much, but a team and an organization he's familiar against facing. Later parts of his career not been too kind to him, but we'll see how that goes. He needs to bounce back there. Kodai Senga versus Luis Severino. Kodai Senga, obviously, you got to watch him when he's on the mound. Luis Severino pitching against his former team now from last year. Nathan Eovaldi versus Logan Gilbert. Oh my gosh. That is a pitching matchup for the ages for me. I absolutely love everything going on in that game. And then the last game, Freddie Peralta versus Zach Gallen between the Brewers and the Diamondbacks, who, honestly, we should probably note that in the series to watch as well, the Brewers and the Diamondbacks. I feel like that's a very good series to pay attention to. I really like both of those teams right now. They're both playing really good ball after a slow start. The Diamondbacks taking a big series against the Orioles that we really don't even talk about because the Orioles have been pretty crap so far this year. But it was a very, very good series win for them. So those are the kind of games that we need to watch out for, the pitching matchups that we need to watch out for as well. Now, it's time for the punch list. Not too many notes this week. There's a lot of time of me just diving into random things, and I couldn't find anything really. I was able to come out with some certain stats. A lot of love for the A's, a lot of love for the Padres, but let's just start out with the A's and the rookie Jacob Wilson, who has been unbelievable for them. I'm now officially worried about Christian Campbell winning AL Rookie of the Year, but this kid's been unbelievable. He is the first athletic rookie to hit 400 or better with a minimum of 40 plate appearances since Leif Cross and Sox Seabold did in 1901. There it was. I know I had it, but I blanked out. But yeah, first A's rookie to hit 400 or better in minimum of 40 plate appearances since Leif Cross and Sox Seabold did in 1901. So that shows you how long it's been since the A's have had a rookie that has hit this well in this early of his career. And he's also one of 3 players in the wild card era to do this in the MLB. That exact same stat, hitting 400 or better in those minimum amount of plate appearances. The 2 other guys, Yermin Mercedes, the former catcher for the White Sox, who had just 1 year of greatness, and some other guy who had a good year in David Ortiz in 1998. So pretty good company there to be having your name put with David Ortiz if you're Jacob Wilson. Talk about Hunter Green again. Hunter Green's the 5th Red in history to have a sub 1.35 ERA with 20 strikeouts in the first 20 innings pitched of the season. Just shows how dominant he has been to start the year, not giving up runs, striking out a lot of the guys. He's been awesome. Corbin Carroll, talk about the Diamondbacks just briefly there a second ago. I feel like they're going to be a big part of this upcoming episode. Corbin Carroll, 6th Diamondback in history to hit 300 with 5+ home runs in his first 60 plate appearances of the season. The other guys, all outfielders: Chris Young, Justin Upton, Steve Finley, Luis Gonzalez, and then the last guy, not an outfielder, but Paul Goldschmidt is the other guy on that list. Manny Machado, When you think of Manny Machado, you think of the bat, you think of the defense. But most importantly, you think of the blazing speed that he has on the base paths. 6 stolen bases to start the year for Manny Machado. That is the most by a Padres third baseman in the first 20 games of the season. If you were to tell me Manny Machado is stealing bases in 2025 at this rate, I don't know what I would have been able to tell you. Staying with the Padres, talking about that bullpen we briefly mentioned earlier, Robert Suarez is the second Padre in history to have 6+ saves in his first 10 appearances of the season. The other guy who did it, Heath Bell in 2009, if you remember Heath Bell at all from his time as a Padre being their closer. And then the last one we got, the Mets team ERA. We haven't really talked about the Mets because, again, they're another team I'm trying to figure out. Are they just mid-tier? Is their ceiling higher? They're also dealing with injuries in the rotation, so the team isn't complete yet. But obviously, it's really not stopping this rotation from being as good as they are. The Mets team ERA currently is 2.10. This is the third best in New York Mets history through the first 12 games. The other two best seasons, 1968 and 1971. Tom Seaver obviously being a part of that. I think a young Nolan Ryan on those teams as well. So those are all the good stats this week. Hopefully we have some history being made this weekend to where we can be able to have some stuff for you guys on Monday as well. Make sure you follow me on all the social medias once again at the Punch Out Pod on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube for the YouTube Shorts. Go ahead and follow all there. Tell a friend if they love baseball and they want to listen to a podcast. Share my stuff with them. We try to keep it short over here. We try to keep it impactful and full of good stuff to talk about every single week, twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. So I appreciate you guys for listening. Enjoy the games this weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday.